The real reason that Joe Goldberg and Love Quinn could never work out is because Joe Goldberg is a psychopathic individual who is always seeking novelty. Anytime that Joe starts fixating or obsessing over someone on the show, it's usually because he has idealized her, put her on a pedestal, and is always in pursuit of her. It's always in a chase. She's unavailable, unattainable to him in some way. Maybe she doesn't respond to his texts as quickly as he'd like. Maybe she doesn't reciprocate his affections quite immediately, even if she's flirty or seems to show a little bit of interest in the beginning. He behaves much like an emotionally unavailable man would behave, in that he falls in love with the chase of her. But for psychopaths, this chase is on another level. Now, there's been conflicting studies on whether psychopaths have an hyperactive dopamine system, and that's why they're always sensation-seeking, thrill seekers, or if they have a harder time getting dopamine. There's evidence for both cases, but whatever the case may be, it's clear that their reward system is different from the average person's reward system. So even though they may behave like emotionally unavailable men, the thrill for them is on a different level. When Joe first meets a woman, he places her on a pedestal and thinks of her as this innocent, unattainable maiden. He also suffers a lot from the narcissistic syndrome that a lot of narcissistic people have with women if they're men, and that's Madonna horse syndrome, right? He can't seem to view women apart from the dichotomy of, oh, this is an innocent, virtuous woman versus, oh, she's a sex. And you'll see this dichotomy a lot with narcissistic men, is that they will see women as one of the following. Either they're the maternal, motherly, virgin, or they're they're Madonna, or they're the whore, the temptress, the seductress. So he places these two categories. So when Love Quinn also becomes, a wife and a mother, then he seems to fixate on the temptress, the whore outside of the marriage, right? Because again, she puts everything on a silver platter. She says, we're soulmates, Joe. And she basically ends the chase for him. And when a psychopath or a narcissist has that chase kind of stopped by the fact that their victim is reciprocating, that's when they lose the novelty. They see that person as old news. And this is not the victim's fault at all. It's not personal. It's just something to do with their brains, right? And that doesn't mean that they're not responsible for their behavior. They certainly are, because they could choose differently. They could choose to make different decisions, even with their dopamine system, right? They could choose to find sensation seeking and thrill seeking in different pursuits. It doesn't have to be constantly recycling different victims or pitting victims against each other or creating love triangles. And that's when they but they choose differently, right? They choose to pursue new victims to get that thrill, to get that sensation. And then they start to re-idealize the old victim once that victim has moved forward, or once that victim is, being chased by someone else. Once that victim seems valuable again to them in their eyes. Again, it's all about victims being trophies, being toys, being objects to be played with or possessed in some way and controlled. Because again, they still have to create this everlasting love triangle. Whenever Joe was with a new woman, he was always pursuing another woman in some way, right? Even when he was with Beck, he was still he wasn't chasing, but he was fixated on the other woman in Beck's life, right? Her best friend, Paige. And so, again, we have to think about it in a way that is about the psychopath's inclination for thrill seeking and sensation seeking. He needed to pursue the neighbor in his mind because Love Quinn had already been pursued and chased. When she began kind of, having an affair, he did show some, more interest in that. But at the same time, his fixation was so strong because of the fact that he had already devalued mentally in his mind that Love Quinn was no longer valuable, because she actually wanted him and she actually married back to him she wanted him. And she actually mirrored back to him his own traits and behaviors. And for him, that's scary because he wants to see women as a Madonna type. He wants to see women as the virginal, pure, innocent type. And either that or the whore, the temptress, the seductress. Both of them are kind of unattainable ideals, right? They both have their own characteristics that make them be placed on a pedestal. So that is why when Love Quinn reciprocated his affections, showed that she matched his energy, right? And she actually could have been a compatible partner for him in a very twisted, morbid way, he ran because he can't have that. That's not part of the pursuit. That's not part of the chase. That's not part of the thrill, the sadistic, sensation-seeking thrill that psychopaths get. He wants to place people in love triangles because that's more fun for him. That's more exciting for him. That's more novel for him. And so that is why when victims move forward with their lives, psychopaths tend to re-idealize them because it gives them space and time away from the image of them that they had, the idealized image, as well as them being devalued as old news, just because either they threatened their ego or they stood up to them, or maybe they just gave in too easily and the pursuit stopped. Whatever the case may be, in the distortions of a psychopath's mind, they start to realize, oh wait, this old victim is starting to seem shiny and new again because they have regained themselves. They've actually glowed up. They've actually done amazing things with their lives. They are fascinating again. So that's why you may see a psychopath or narcissist who, mistreated you. First they idealized you, then they mistreated you, and then they're coming back again once they see that you are being pursued by other people, that you moved forward with your life, because they want that chase again. They want that thrill. Once you start to see it that way, you don't internalize the behavior of a psychopath or a narcissist the same way. So I hope this helps.